Welcome to another episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast. Today we are very excited. We have a special guest. It's Carl Higbie, the host of Carl Higbee's Frontline on Newsmax. He is the author of 2 books. He is a former Navy SEAL. He is a complete badass. And we know that you have written, obviously, about your time in the SEALs, but for folks who are in our audience who may not know your story, what made you sign up for what can arguably be considered like one of the toughest gigs on the planet?
First, thanks for having me.
Sure.
This is a kind of an interesting one because I always wanted to be a SEAL since I was like 4 years old.
Wow.
And I didn't really know what it was, obviously, then, but I always wanted to do it. So after 9/11, I was like, shit, I'm just going to drop out of high school and go do this. Turns out you need a high school degree to join the Navy. So I had to finish high school. So
you were anxious.
No, I was a senior in high school, and a lot of my friends, their parents worked in the Trade Center, and some of them didn't make it out. So it was like deeply personal to anybody who lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, because there's a huge swath of people.
Right.
So my mom convinced me to go to college. I had 2 officers for grandparents, and they were like, you need to be an officer, you need to go to college. I was like, all right, let me check this stuff out. College was definitely not for me. It was like one of those things. So I remember we had just starting putting boots on the ground in Iraq, and I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I'm just dinking around in English class, not learning anything. And I get this paper back from one of my teachers. It was like, is this good literature? Like one of those stupid questions. And I was like, this book sucked. Now, I didn't read the book. I just read the Cliff Notes version of it. But I was like, this book sucks. So, no, I didn't think it was good literature. So he was like, see me after class. You failed this subject or this, assignment. You see me after class. He's like, well, Mr. Higbie, maybe college isn't for you. I was like, all right. So that's all I needed. Say less, dude. And I dropped out. I didn't even drop out formally. I just walked out of there and went to the recruiting office. And I was like, I'm going to be a SEAL. I need you to do a bunch of paperwork. When can I leave? And the guy was like, oh, and this is like, we had just declared war. Like we're putting troops in Iraq at this time. I'm like, I don't know. I looked at my watch. I was like, I don't know. Like I got to run home, grab a few things, like 3-4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, no, sir, you got to understand here. There's this delayed entry program, they called it. And it was like, we can get you in like a year. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, we just declared war on a bunch of people who flew buildings flew planes into these buildings. And you're going to tell me the soonest you can get me into a war zone or training for a war zone is a year?
Yeah.
I was like, this is government. I was like, at that time, I determined that all parts of the government are effectively the DMV. The Navy is just the DMV with nuclear submarines. So I was able to get into the military a little bit earlier, but it still took like 5 months or something like that. I was like, this is insane. But
do you think that would happen today? Do you think like with Pete Hegseth?
Oh, it's still the same. It's
really?
Still the
if
same.
you walked in today and you're like, it would be the exact same deal.
Yep.
Like
it's not a Hegseth thing. It's a processing thing. They don't have the capacity to process people in fast enough. You got to go to this place called MEPS where you stand in line. They give you like 275 vaccinations and they make you take all these tests and stuff like that.
It literally takes you like that long to even just get through, to get in.
Yeah.
And say, I went.
And that's before you even raise your right hand.
Wow, that is
my
insane.
gosh.
What? Wow. Okay. So
is there any rhyme or reason? Like, what is the reason for that other than is it just bureaucracy and red tape, or is there wow, that's
it's
that's
insane.
bad.
It's insane to me. And it's not I don't think it's actually like I mean, look, they could probably streamline it if they wanted to, but I don't even think, Pete's actually a good friend of mine. And this is one of the things that I should probably talk to him about, but it's shocking to me that it's like, oh, at a time of war, or for now, for instance, like you just lost a bunch of people because you kicked them out for this vaccine that nobody needed. And then you have a diminished thing. I mean, they're bringing people back at record pace right now, but it'd be really interesting to see like, hey, maybe you don't need to take a test about how to screw in a light bulb to join the military.
Yeah. So but speaking of Hegseth and then also Trump, what are the favorite things about those two? What do you think what are the best things they've done so far for the military? What do you think?
So let's start with Pete. Like, I know a lot of people had reservations about Pete. Like, I know Pete. We've hung out outside of work. He's
obviously
a really
you've
good
been
guy.
drinking because that's all he ever does, right? Like,
I mean, if you listen to the mainstream media, like
Yes.
So, look, I come from the SEAL teams where like basically the weekend functionality of the SEAL teams is functional alcoholics. So like, I'm actually surprisingly enough, I'm not a drinker.
Our kind of people, Mark. I
yeah,
mean, come on.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I'm actually not a big drinker, so it was really interesting to me. And when I was a new guy in the teams, you're always the driver, and I was like, it doesn't really bother me because I don't really drink that much.
Mm-hmm.
But he did he have a few drinks? Sure. Did he have a problem? Absolutely not. And that's what these people don't understand. It's like they want to pick and prod anything. Anyway, so he just doesn't give a shit about the political correctness. He's like, can we put bullets in bad guys? That's all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was just out on the Gerald Ford with the Secretary of the Navy like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And, they were prepping for a deployment where they were going to be potentially engaging Houthi rebels. They were training for that mission profile out in the Atlantic Ocean. So we were out there on the aircraft carrier, like talking to these people and stuff like that. And it was interesting talking to even the SecNav, to the captain of the ship. They were like, dude, we get to kill people now that are threatening America. And I'm like, this is great. Like,
yeah, it's awesome. And what about Trump? What do you think? So Trump, obviously he has a hand in that because he is the one who got Hegseth in there. Yeah. But
unleash it. Unleash
just
like
it
let
all.
it go. And I have family members that are like Republican, but they're not like, I'm ready to tear my shirt off and get a MAGA tattoo sort of guy. So, but there's a lot of people, and I've talked about this on my show all the time, where I'm like, look, guys, just give the guy a chance. People are like, oh, it's been 100 days and shit's still all whack and stuff. It's like, it's like, okay, hold on a sec, asshole. It has taken us 250 years to get here. We've had 44 other presidents that screwed this up. We've had globalists. We've had 35 maybe give them more than 100 days. Like, it might take 110. I don't know. Like today, they're signing trade deals.
Right, because it's not just the military; it's everything that's screwed up right now.
Everything. Yeah, Elon's like cutting, hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, oh, surprise, we have 4.5 million government credit cards. But wait a sec, don't you only have 2.5 million government employees? Yeah, don't worry about that. Yes, I do worry about that.
We all do. We totally do
too. Those guards.
After you were a SEAL, I know you had there was a run for Congress, but how did you make this leap into what you're doing now? Which is, obviously you're on TV, you're doing commentary. That's very different than boots on the ground SEAL work. So how did you make that transition?
That was actually kind of an interesting one. So I was in the military. And then right around the time, my last deployment in 2009, we were court-martialed for prisoner abuse. I don't know if you've seen the movie American Sniper.
Yeah.
That guy going around drilling holes in people's head with the DeWalt drill in the movie. So we caught that guy in real life in 2009.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we catch this guy called the Butcher of Fallujah. He was also the one who strung up a couple SEALs from the Blackwater Bridge and lit their bodies on fire early on in the war. Wow. Yeah. So we were pretty amped to go on that op. We caught this guy. We bring him back. Not a scratch on him. We could have shot him, and we didn't. He had a gun on target. We didn't shoot him. We should have shot him in the face. But we were fully authorized to use lethal force, and we didn't do it because we were told at the time, don't do that, because we want him alive so we can question him. We were like, got it. Mission before our feelings. Done. Bring him back. Not a scratch on him. He complains we abused him. We didn't. Here's a guy, some of the outlandish comments were like this, Carl beat me with a 2x4. It's like, dude, you're 130 pounds. I'm 250 pounds. Like, if I hit you with a 2x4, you'd know it. So, all the charges get completely dropped. And at this point, I was enraged. We'd also lost a very good friend of mine. He was an EOD guy, and he was killed because the rules of engagement didn't allow him to execute targets and execute IEDs on the side of the road the way he was trained to. And because he was forced to change his TTPs, he was killed. And that pissed me off. So obviously when you're active duty, you're somewhat restrained in what you can say about your chain of command, but it doesn't take away your First Amendment rights. So I decided to start writing this down in a book. And all my grievances expanded beyond just military, but also societal grievances. So my first book was called Battle in the Home Front. I've written 4, which is more than I've actually read in my life. So I started writing this down, and during the court-martial in 2010, they flew us all back to Iraq. We had to stand trial. It ruined our careers. So a lot of people were really pissed off about it. A bunch of people got out of the military after this, including myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to publish this book. And I decided to publish it on active duty. And I went through the whole gambit of how to get this done legally, finally. I was talking to the PAO, to admirals and lawyers. And I checked every single box, and the military didn't want me to publish it because it was critical of Obama, who was the commander-in-chief at the time. I said, but I'm still allowed to do that, not in a personal capacity, not in a professional capacity, but I can do it in a personal capacity. It says right there in the document that you sent me. So I get that thing all said and done. Finally, my lawyer was like, dude, you guys have been dragging your feet on this. You have 30 days by your own rules. It's been over a year. Like, we're just going to publish this. Like, you pound sand. And so we did, and the military went back and forth. We ended up agreeing that I would get out of the military 3 months before my contract was up anyway, and I would publish this book, and that would be that. And I said, okay, cool, get my honorable discharge, get out. After I got my honorable discharge, they tried to take it away from me after I was out of the military, which is illegal, like patently illegal. And because in order to give somebody something other than an honorable discharge, you need to have an administrative separation board or a court martial. I didn't have either of those. They wouldn't give me either of those because then you have this thing called evidence, and it would have shown that they screwed up a lot of things.
Right.
So I went after the DOD, and in a 5-0 military appellate court decision in my favor said, no, you guys cannot do that. You have to, he still has an honorable discharge. You never took it away. It was never authorized. So during that battle, I ended up getting into media, and
because you were getting interviews to talk about that. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, that and political stuff ended up going on just basically every network, and people were interested in the story. I mean, the military really, and the military vaccination thing is like the perfect example of the same shit that I went through. They handle things so badly, and there's you can't do that. Why? Well, because. Well, why? It says I can. Well, we don't want you to. And they do this stuff all the time, which is exactly my problem. But Pete has actually eliminated a lot of that. Trump has eliminated a lot of that. It's like, hey, you want to be trans? Maybe the military's not the place for you. You want to cut off or sew on or tuck back, whatever you want. Fine. Just don't do it on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the wokeness. Like, we see a bunch of, we'll make fun of on our show a lot of the times, these guys that'll get out there and they're painting their nails, and they're like, I'm in the army, look at me painting my nails, or I'm doing this, and we're like, what in the hell's going on? And so, have you experienced?
Do you need something to do? Because we got some terrorists.
You're right. This is the thing. We say that all the time. And we're just, so did you experience a lot of that, like the wokeness, or were you just not? Because you're a SEAL, so I would imagine those guys, you don't see a lot of wokeness in the area that you were in, but maybe you did. Did you not?
I was at the dawn of, so I was actually in when they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and we were all looking around, and we were like, I don't really give a shit. If you want to be gay, fine, go ahead.
Right.
But so it's a funny story. I had a good buddy of mine who was in the military with us, and we all knew he was gay, but he didn't say anything, and he didn't, even after Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, he still didn't say anything. He just did his thing. Good SEAL, got his shit done.
Yeah.
And so, after he gets out of the military, 5 years later, we were all getting together. We were actually on a hunting trip. And he was like, guys, I really gotta, we had a couple beers. He's like, I really gotta tell you guys something, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I'm gay. We were like, yeah, we knew, dude.
Yeah.
And he was like,
I
what?
love stories like
But
that.
That's totally
because
different. But don't you think that's totally different than painting your nails in a video, though? That's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or running around in a clinger outfit,
the irony of this whole thing is the military standards don't even let women to have painted fingernails other than earth tone in the military. And you've got dudes deployed painting their fingernails. It's
great point.
Go be an accountant or work at Starbucks. You'll fit in great.
Yes.
Were you surprised by the Supreme Court's recent allowing Trump to go forward with banning trans people in the military? Because we talked about it a little bit on our show, and it was a surprise only because it seems like the reverse of what is simplest. It seems like they would put a hold on the ban until they actually have an official vote on it. But instead they were like, we're just going to let him ban them, and then we're going to work it out. So they're going to essentially make people get out and then potentially bring them back in, depending on how they rule. It was just such a weird, convoluted thing.
Kind of like the COVID vaccine. I'm not, you know what, like I've had my beef with the Supreme Court recently on a lot of things. But I think that is a strong ruling. The court should not be anywhere near the military. The military is a dictatorship. It is not a democracy. It is not, like, if you don't want to do that, go somewhere else. Like, you do have rights. But here's the problem with the trans thing. And I did an interview with the BBC on this. And the interviewer was more interested in trying to convince me that trans people should, they're our greatest. No, they're not. It's like, if for instance, like if I'm a male and I take steroids in the military, I get kicked out. It's a banned substance. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So why is it authorized for a female that's claiming to be a male and wants to be treated like a male and says she's a male?
It's insane.
To take steroids that a male can't take.
Oh my gosh.
To be a male. And I'm like, the irony here is like lost on this person.
It's completely nuts.
It is totally insane. And it's like, if I'm over in a combat zone, like, I don't care if you're black, white, blue, green, male, female, whatever. I don't care. If you can carry my ass out of a combat zone, great. If you can shoot the other guy before he shoots us, fabulous. The problem is being trans takes a significant amount of energy, resources, attention. You have to be on hormone therapy. You have to all these things. Like, if you have, if you're on, Wellbutrin or Ritalin or Adderall, you can't do that in the military because it's another instability. And you're going to say that people who don't know what gender they are, you're going to give them a gun and put them on the front lines in combat and make them do things that may not be corresponding. They may not be able to get their hormone therapy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's such a great point. It really is. That's just high freaking maintenance is what it is right there. I mean, I think that's belittling what the situation is, I think. But to me, it's just, those are some high maintenance people. Okay, so you went really viral with the taco eating. When people were like, hey, you can't have Mexican food if you voted for Trump. And then you went viral because you were like, F you. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I'm going to go ahead and eat tacos. You know what? I am too, because I live in Texas and I eat tacos all the time and I voted for Trump. So, you went viral for that. And because the outrage mob will come after you and they get really mad about this kind of stuff and they try to cancel you and they get really upset with you. And how do you deal with those kind of people? I mean, like, do you lean into that stuff? Obviously you went viral for it, which is fantastic. But what is your take on this whole outrage culture that we're living in now?
Cry harder. I have zero patience for this. Look, I'm literally wearing a shirt that says toxic masculinity.
I love it. It's so fantastic.
I take a train every day into Manhattan and I wear my Make America Great Again hat. I wear ultra MAGA shirts. I wear all kinds of things that make me happy. And I don't really care if somebody's offended by it because it's my freedom of speech.
Do you get looks? Do people freak out? How does that work? I mean, you're a guy that I would imagine people don't really want to mess with if they see you wearing that kind of stuff. But do they try to mess with you if you're wearing that stuff?
It's interesting. No. Everybody's got something to say on Twitter. And, there was a while back, I did some monologue on my show about something, and I got like a bunch of death threats. And I said, come find me.
I love it. Yeah.
Right.
You know where I work.
Uh-huh.
And they put up the address of Newsmax on a lot of these tweets that were going viral. And I was like, okay, I walk out this building at 6:05. I'll see you there.
Yes.
Not one person showed up actually to have their book signed. But it was... But this is what we're up against here. It's like these purple head baristas or whatever they do. I don't know what they do all day. There's a building across the street, like right behind me actually. They have all these weird like Antifa and Hamas protests and all this stuff out there every day. And every day it's like right on my way to the train. I'm like, I'm not gonna put up with this stuff. And I will walk through there and they just part like the Red Seas. They're all screaming at me, but I'm like, I'll turn around, I'm like, do something. Please, for the love of God.
Yeah.
And they won't do that. And here's the thing, is like, I don't go looking for a fight, but I'm certainly not going to be pushed around by these people. And that's the problem, is we have become a society where masculinity they've just tried to neuter everybody.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not looking for a fight, and I'm the first person to seek peace. But if you seek violence, it is going to be the worst day of your life.
Yeah. I think the culture's shifting too. Like our side, we've always been very outspoken about our conservatism, but I think that a lot of people on our side, I think that a lot of people on our side have been afraid for the past several years. They've been afraid to say I'm conservative. We get emails from people all the time. They're like, I agree with everything you say, but I'm just not going to say it out loud. And we're like, why? Oh my gosh. So
but that's the problem.
Yeah, they're starting to be more brazen in their conservatism because people like you are starting to speak. Everybody's starting to speak out more and more, and it's becoming cool now to be conservative, and we weren't cool before, you know?
But that's why, like, you know, I think young people, like in the 18 to 22 demo, it's Republican by like 10-point swing Republican because it's cool again. And the other thing too is like, you know, all these people like, oh, I don't want to speak up, or I don't want to do this, I don't want to make waves. It's like, why?
Right.
The problem today is the battles you don't pick, you lose.
Yes.
I remember during COVID, like I have 3 kids, and they were in school, and well, 2 of them were, one of them was just being born during COVID, but you know, they were doing the masks and they were coming home and they were just miserable. Like communication was being cut off because they were covering faces. They had these stupid plastic sheets. None of this stuff mattered. There was not a single data point. So I was going to, and at the time I was actually even on the town council in Greenwich. And I remember just beating the podium up there. And I was just like, you people have no idea what you're talking about. You're everything so I'm sending my kids to school with no mask and dare you to try to put one on. And it became this whole thing. But people started standing up and started saying, like, we're not going to put up with this. And the problem is like, you know, it's the Edmund Burke theory. All evil needs to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
Yes.
And too many people are worried about being comfortable. And it's this power of appeasement. It's like, well, you can appease somebody to the end of the day, and ultimately it ends with you losing everything.
You're so right.
You know,
yes, you're so right. They have to say something. And I think a lot of young men, especially, are starting to look at guys like you, and they're like, you know what? I'm sick of being called toxic. I'm tired of it. And so we're seeing a big shift.
Oh, I'm not sick of it. I don't care. Like, call me toxic.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
But I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is that they feel like they do obviously contribute to society. Like society has said to them over the past however many years, you are toxic. And they're like, that's bullshit. I'm not. I'm awesome. And I'm gonna show you how awesome I am. And so a lot of these young guys are out there and they are conservative now and they're proud about it. And I love it. There's like a resurgence of the man. And
because where else are they supposed to go?
Yeah,
at this point?
I think Gen Z starting to be more conservative. I love that. That is really because I have a young daughter, and it's promising for me because I'm like, I love that she has more conservative young men in her realm, and that is a wonderful thing.
That's the other thing too. Is like we've been conditioned to not have confrontation, and I tell my daughter all the time. She's 12 years old, and I'm like, have the discussion. Like, I will have a debate with anybody on any topic at any time for any reason. I'll have that debate. You want to be civil? I encourage that. Let's have the discussion and let's let the best ideas prevail.
Yes.
You want to do it not civilly? I'm also fine with that, but let's try to do it civilly first.
Yes.
And that's what people are afraid of, this confrontation. I'm like, no, if you stand up for the ideas that it's the Ron Swanson concept. It's like, why did you put your name on that letter that you nailed to the door of the vegan shop, you know, calling, you know, veganism a product of a weak mind. And people, and I say, like, he put his name on it because he believes it. Like, we have to believe in what we say and do now. Otherwise, you know, why are we backing down to these people?
Exactly. Yeah.
I would love to know your thoughts on this proposed, and I'm sorry if I glitched out earlier. I know that sometimes I just randomly
freeze. I think you were fine.
Okay. But what are your thoughts on this whole potential military parade that Trump is throwing out to celebrate, like, the Army's birthday, his birthday? Because there's some criticism, obviously, because there's going to be criticism no matter what he does about anything in the world ever. But what is your thoughts about celebrating the 250th birthday of the military? Is it a, spending that we don't need to do? Is it the right thing to do? Because we were like, I can get down with this, but I also don't want it to look like North Korea. Like, I don't want rockets going down the street. You know what I mean?
I think rockets would be kind of cool. I actually
don't know. It makes me a little squidgy.
I don't know.
You're talking to the guy who thinks, you know, average citizens should be able to own a rocket launcher. So,
I think a rocket launcher. I'd love to have one in my house, but I
just want the same weapons that we left behind for the Taliban. I think that's fair.
I think
or
so
gave
too.
to Ukraine.
Right there with you.
Yeah. So no, look, I mean, look, would I do it? No, but there are a lot of countries that are going to see this that speak that language. Iran, North Korea, China. I mean, that's what they do. It's a show of force. It's a it's a celebration. It's also like, tear your shirt off, beat your chest, be like, yes, America, like we're back, baby, and we got all these missiles. Check it out. Don't F with us.
Right. I love it.
Because
cool.
I don't know. I love the idea of celebrating the military always. I mean, that I love, but I do worry about the optics of it looking like a very Kim Jong-un, like, look at all my giant rocket ships going by.
I think it's so Trump, though. It's going to have a lot of gold.
It is very.
It's going to have, like, there's going to be tigers and, like, dancing girls and everything. It's going to be awesome.
And gold and
Right.
eagles. That's what I want to see.
Low flying necessarily bald eagles.
Right.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like a Donald Trump production. I'm going to love every bit of it. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually what I want. I do want to take over just that corner of Canada around Vancouver, so we have all those bald eagles as part of our country.
Yes,
Yeah.
Carl. I totally.
Yes. We want to be respectful of your time, and we're getting close to the end. So we want to make sure that our audience hears how they can find you, where they can get your books, where they can watch you on a daily basis.
All the books are on Amazon. Battle on the Home Front, Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, Crisis of Culture, and Profiles in Freedom.
Wow.
Was the last one. We do have a new one coming out, but I'm not going to spoil the title yet.
Oh.
It's actually right up the alley of this podcast. So,
Okay.
yeah, that'll probably be out, I want to say September, fall timeframe.
Okay.
Be there for Christmas.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and my English teacher who failed me is rolling in his grave right now that I've written 5 books. But
I love it. That's fantastic.
So yeah, Twitter at Carl Higbie, 5 o'clock on Newsmax Eastern time, and I'm here to talk shit.
Awesome. It's been a joy,
That is
Carl.
great.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate you guys having me.